Mary Magdalene is one of the most misunderstood figures in spiritual history, and yet she may have carried one of the most important teachings Jesus ever gave about healing the soul. Not healing the body, not fixing circumstances, but healing the part of us that feels fractured, ashamed, disconnected, or unworthy of love. And the reason her teaching matters so much right now is because so many people are walking around spiritually awake, but emotionally wounded, trying to live a higher truth with an unhealed inner self. In the Gospel of Mary, she speaks openly about the soul's journey through fear, grief, desire, ignorance, and false identity. And what's striking is that her teaching doesn't sound like doctrine. It sounds like lived experience. It sounds like someone who had been broken open, transformed, and then entrusted with something sacred. Mary's teaching begins with this idea that suffering doesn't come from God. It comes from fragmentation, from forgetting who you are, from identifying with fear, lack, shame, or separation. In other words, the wound is not punishment. The wound is amnesia. The soul forgets its origin, and then it starts to believe the world's story about itself instead of God's. And this is where her teaching becomes deeply practical. Mary didn't teach escape, she taught integration. She taught that healing the soul means reclaiming the parts of yourself that were rejected, silenced, or distorted by fear. It means recognizing that the pain you carry is not evidence of failure, but evidence of sensitivity. Evidence that your soul was awake even when the world wasn't safe. One of the most powerful ideas in the Gospel of Mary is that the soul must pass through inner powers, or forces that try to claim it. These aren't demons in the Hollywood sense. They are psychological and emotional states: fear, doubt, shame, desire, control. These are the same things most people wrestle with daily. Without realizing, they are spiritual forces because they shape perception. They tell you who you are. They decide what you believe is possible. They decide how close you feel to God. Mary teaches that the soul is only trapped by these forces if it identifies with them. The moment the soul remembers its true nature, those forces lose authority. That's the key. Healing doesn't happen by fighting fear. It happens by outgrowing it, by remembering something deeper than fear. This aligns perfectly with what Jesus taught when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Not after death, not after perfection, not after you fix yourself. The kingdom is already there, buried under layers of false identity. Mary understood that healing the soul meant peeling back those layers, not adding more rules or rituals. What's also important is how Mary positioned love. In her teaching, love isn't sentiment. Love is clarity. Love is the force that reunites what has been split. When the soul is fragmented, it seeks externally what it has lost internally: approval, safety, validation, belonging. But when the soul heals, it no longer chases love, it becomes grounded in it. This is why Mary was so threatening to early religious structures. Her teaching made people sovereign, whole, connected directly to God. No mediator required. A healed soul doesn't need control. It doesn't need hierarchy. It doesn't need fear-based obedience. And that kind of spiritual autonomy was dangerous. Mary also teaches something subtle but profound. Healing is not linear. The soul revisits wounds at higher levels of awareness. You may think you've healed something only to feel it surface again later. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're ready to see it more honestly. Healing happens in spirals, not straight lines. This is especially important for people who feel frustrated with their spiritual journey. You pray, you grow, you change, and yet certain emotional patterns still show up. Old fears, old attachments, old grief. Mary would say that these are not setbacks, they are invitations. Each time the wound appears, it's asking to be met with deeper truth instead of old coping mechanisms. Another powerful part of her teaching is the idea that the soul is not meant to be hardened. The world often teaches resilience through numbness, but Mary teaches resilience through openness, through the courage to feel without being consumed, to love without control, to trust without guarantees. This is why so many empaths, intuitives, and spiritually sensitive people resonate with Mary Magdalene. She represents the healed feminine soul, not in terms of gender, but in terms of receptivity, intuition, and emotional intelligence. She shows that strength and softness are not opposites. They are partners. Mary also speaks about inner silence, not as withdrawal, but as discernment. The healed soul knows when to speak and when to be still. It doesn't react compulsively. It doesn't need to prove itself. Silence becomes a form of power because it allows truth to rise without distortion. This connects to Jesus' teaching on peace. When he says, "My peace I give to you," he's not offering comfort. He's offering alignment. A soul at peace is a soul no longer fragmented by fear, a soul that has stopped fighting itself. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Mary Magdalene is the assumption that her authority came from proximity to Jesus. But the text suggests something deeper. Her authority came from understanding, from embodiment. She didn't just hear the teachings, she lived them. She integrated them. And that's why she could teach the others when they were afraid. There's a moment in the Gospel of Mary where the male disciples doubt her, question her credibility, and feel threatened by her insight. And Peter, in particular, struggles with the idea that Jesus would reveal something to her that wasn't revealed to them. This moment isn't about gender. It's about ego versus integration, about intellectual belief versus lived truth. Mary's response isn't defensive. She doesn't argue. She simply stands in what she knows. And that may be the greatest lesson of all. A healed soul doesn't need validation, it knows. So how does this apply to you right now in your life? If you feel emotionally exhausted, Mary's teaching would say your soul has been carrying something that isn't yours. If you feel disconnected from God, she would say God hasn't moved. Something inside you is afraid to remember. If you feel like you're always almost healed but not quite, she would remind you that healing is not about arrival, it's about honesty. Healing the soul, according to Mary Magdalene, begins with allowing yourself to be seen by God without disguise, without performance, without spiritual bypassing. You don't heal by becoming more acceptable. You heal by becoming more real. And perhaps the most comforting part of her teaching is this: the soul is never rejected, no matter how lost it feels, no matter how fragmented, no matter how long it wandered. The moment it remembers, it is already home. That's why her teaching still matters, because it speaks to people who are tired of trying to fix themselves and are ready to remember themselves instead. If this message resonated with you, sit with it. Don't rush to understand it. Let it work quietly. Healing often begins beneath the surface, before the mind catches up. And if you feel drawn to these teachings, trust that. Curiosity is often the soul recognizing something familiar, something it already knows. If you want to continue exploring the hidden teachings of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and the deeper meaning behind spiritual awakening, consider subscribing. These conversations are meant to be slow, reflective, and honest. Not about fear, not about perfection, but about remembering who you are beneath everything you were told to be. And if you feel called to, share this with someone who might be carrying a quiet wound they don't have words for yet. Sometimes healing begins simply by hearing the truth spoken out loud. You are not broken. You are remembering.